A year ago, life was unbearable. Now, it's transformed it. A year ago, life was a constant struggle. Now it's a journey of transformation. This video explores the profound shift that occurs when we embrace the unseen aspects of our lives. The subtle inversion where the teaching is appropriated by the very pattern it claims to dissolve is a common trap. People often use the concept of letting go to reinforce their ego, creating a new identity layer that they cling to. This can lead to a form of spiritual bypassing, where the true essence of the practice is lost. The ego may adopt the language of awakening as a way to maintain control, rather than truly letting go. This mechanism of ego preservation is a significant barrier to genuine transformation. The challenge is to recognize when the practice becomes a tool for the ego, and to shift towards a more authentic approach. The specific tension at the heart of the insight is the paradox of control and surrender. The mind resists the idea that true freedom comes from letting go of control, as it perceives any shift as a threat to its identity. This resistance is rooted in the fear of losing control. The mind cannot hold both sides at once because it is deeply invested in maintaining a sense of control. This paradox is a significant challenge on the path to enlightenment. The mechanism of ego preservation is at play here, as the ego clings to the illusion of control to maintain its identity. The challenge is to recognize this paradox and to navigate it with awareness. Examining the power of letting go, Quantum Lens exposes a gap between conceptual agreement and lived execution under social pressure. Zen monastic training offers useful contrast because it links spiritual maturity to repeatable discipline in conflict, fatigue, and ambiguity. That gap appears in ordinary environments. At the end of a long day, a difficult tone appears in a conversation, and uncertainty is treated as immediate threat. The bottleneck is usually attentional capture under social threat, which recycles the same interpretation loop and blocks incoming evidence. A durable response sequence is empirical rather than aspirational. Name the trigger, verify what is directly observed versus inferred, and perform one action that increases relational stability. Repeated consistently, this approach displaces performance with embodied decision-making that others can observe and verify. Can we measure progress by repair quality rather than by self-description? Examining the power of letting go, human reality can be treated as a systems problem inside the person rather than a language problem. In early desert monastic reflection, teachers emphasized implementation fidelity. The same principle must survive pressure, conflict, and social friction without softening. A practical example clarifies the requirement. During an ordinary weekday, a difficult tone appears in a conversation, and intent is inferred faster than evidence arrives. Under load, ruminative looping, under uncertainty, dominates and converts open attention into predictable self-justification. The operational correction is specific. Pause long enough to reduce physiological reactivity, describe the current observable signal without embellishment, and execute one action that repairs trust rather than defends position. Outcomes register across relationships and work decisions, not in private reflection alone. What happens when we name the defense before we justify our response? Examining the power of letting go, tradition root gains traction when it moves from philosophy into repeated behavioral experiment. In Taoist contemplative tradition, practitioners evaluated development by consistency of response across high-stakes situations, not by quality of articulation during calm intervals. A familiar setting demonstrates why this matters. In the middle of a busy day, a colleague receives visible praise, and uncertainty is treated as immediate threat. The hidden architecture of that moment is identity fusion with a preferred self-story, narrowing available responses before deliberate thought can engage. Interrupting that sequence requires precision. Register the first signal before the narrative solidifies, separate the observable fact from the interpretation layered on top, and substitute one response with lower conflict costs. Verified over multiple recurrences, This shift shows up as shortened repair time and fewer escalation cycles. Where does control end and honest attention begin? How do we navigate the tension between control and surrender without losing ourselves in the illusion of separation?